Jake, the FBI crime statistics don't enter into this conversation. Chris can be on the podcast.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
Oh my god.
We could probably get Horatio Sands on this show. Like, I think that he's like not very popular.
Terrible.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably get Bobby Moynihan, to be honest.
Honestly, yeah, Bobby Moynihan and Bobby Lee. He was on Mad TV, but no one from that era will remember.
Bobby Lee is a shithead, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, better or worse than Tim and Eric?
I just hate Bobby Lee
hold
as a person, having listened to his podcast a bunch with Andrew Santino.
I would rather hang out with Bobby Lee than either Tim or Eric, or combine Tim and Eric.
Fair.
Now, if I could have like one wish, it would be to watch a like tag team to the death of Tim and Eric versus Bobby Lee and Eric Andre, and then maybe Bobby Moynihan like comes in and is like, you know, like in the middle, like, oh my god, it's Bobby Moynihan with the steel chair, and then he fucking brains Eric. Like, that'd be fantastic.
With commentary by Hannibal Buress.
Yes, yes, with commentary by Hannibal Buress.
Like someone gets hit with the chair, bam, whack.
Wow, he just hit him with the steel chair. Boo! Why are you booing me? I'm right.
Well, and welcome back to the Argel Talk podcast. My name is Jake, and I'm here with Ben, Gray, and Eric. How you guys all doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good.
Outstanding.
Oh my god. Oh, and you can hear Gray now? Like, oh, it's so much better now.
I'm done trucking, so
Yeah.
time to get.
He returned home from the long haul.
That's right.
Indeed. So yeah, what do you guys been working on in the hobby the past little bit here?
I've done a lot of shit today, honestly. I did finished up a couple orc bikes, did my Secret Santa thing. Now I'm working on my last Night Lords HQ.
Go.
Nice.
Truly embodying trucking and fucking.
I have been able to accomplish nothing for myself simply because I've just lacked the desire. Like, I just haven't been able to put myself in the mood to do any of my own hobbying. So I've been doing it for other people. I've been just, you know, printing things. So finishing up a big ol' towel building, working on some Battlefleet Gothic ships. Did a fantastic Malkador tank. Love that thing. And currently working on a piss load of bikers.
What kind of bikers?
Mark IV Outriders.
Well, there you go.
I've been building scout bikers, and they're the bane of my existence.
Man, I love those models. Love those old boys.
I love them in plastic. I don't love them in resin.
Well,
what did you get them in resin?
I got them.
Did I do those?
No, these came from our friends overseas.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I could see where that would be problematic.
And every time I cut a tab, it snaps a piece.
Well, stop doing that.
Going good.
Take your sprue clips and put them over a candle for a little bit. Get them really nice and hot, and just it'll sear through like butter.
The real problem is I need new sprue clips. I had them sitting on the desk next to my wire cutters the other day, and I went to go do some electrical work and grabbed the wrong thing. So now my sprue clips have like a big wire-shaped hole in the middle of them, so they're cutting like crap.
Dear Christ, what kind of wire were you cutting?
Are you familiar with what is that? The expansion ducting?
You lost me.
Yeah. So you know, like I was redoing some AC stuff in my house, and one of the things I did, what really messed it up was when I was cutting, you know, the flex tubing that is in some HVAC systems.
No, I do not, because
Okay.
nope.
Well,
I thought you were going to say something like, yeah, the wife's Sibian needed to be switched from 9-volt to a deep cycle marine battery. So I was just putting some.
Oh no,
more
baby,
on
we're on gas power by now.
Got the generater out back.
We got a 4-stroke diesel, okay?
It only takes 3 of those strokes to get anything done. Hey-o!
It's a Hemi, baby.
I had a Hemi earlier. Wait, what are we talking about? I think we should move on.
So, is the suggestion to heat up the clippers like serious, or are you just trying to get Gray to fire molten resin around his house and like burn his house down?
Well, he said,
Those can both be valid.
yeah. I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. I
¿Por
mean,
qué no los dos?
something can work, but
burn the house down.
yeah, something can work, but also cause collateral issues. But no, I mean, you can actually like heat your clips for like that sort of resin, and it will help like kind of get through those thin pieces without breaking a chunk off.
Well, that's actually a really good idea. I will have to try that.
For what it's worth, you can also use a like a fine like hobby saw, if it's like big gates that you're trying to remove.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to cut off these gates from when they keyways from when they poured it.
I mean, obviously we get resin from lots of different places. We don't just work with Forge World stuff, but the different resin, some of them are way more brittle than others. But like if it's got a little bit of like softness to it, like the heated, as long as they do still have to be sharp. Like you can't just heat a wrench and start cutting through the resin. But it does help with some of that more brittle resin, so that you can just clip through it without also taking off a big chunk of what's in the body too. And some of those gates, especially on like vehicles, like some of those gates are ridiculous. Like you almost have to chainsaw them off.
The Spartan. Spartan has some of the worst gates, and I don't know why they're right over the treads.
Because whatever they decided to do, whatever they decided to do with that mold, like it was better when they put the treads on it, but they still did some weirdness with where they put the gate connectors. Oh man, you should have seen the Mastodon that I got a few years ago. Holy Lord! Like some of those gates were like an inch thick. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I want a Mastodon, but I feel like it's one of those models I'll get that will never see the table ever.
You just described the vast majority of the models that I get. It hasn't stopped me yet.
I mean,
it's true.
To be honest, I've been cleaning up models to paint them for my Crimson Fists, and like I have 4 companies. Most of those will never see the light of day.
That's mostly because they're Crimson Fists.
I mean, let's be honest. Most Heresy kits that get purchased are great kits to see and never actually use.
That's fair.
Like I have a Crassus armored assault vehicle. It's never seen the table.
A Crassus armored assault vehicle in all caps.
I couldn't hear you when you said that.
Oh my! I'm trying not to. Like I want to keep the joke going, but I don't want the dogs to start going berserk either.
Well, that's why you need a Crassus armored assault transport.
I guess that's true.
I kind of want to get one and then rip the top off and fill it full of Medusa guns and run it as the Dominus Bombard.
Oh, what about the Minotaur?
The Minotaur is cool, but the Minotaur is 2 barrels. The Dominus is 3.
Oh.
For no reason.
Daddy 3 PP. I like it.
3 PP.
So you've been working on
one on top of the other.
Oh.
So working on some scout bikes, Gray. Anything else you've been doing?
Working a bunch of commissions for Age of Sigmar orcs, and then I just got done yesterday converting a Bal Predator into a Flamestorm Predator for my Emperor's Children.
Neat.
Very nice. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I said I did. I'm working on my Night Lords at the moment.
Oh, we already did you. My bad, I forgot. I'm a terrible person.
That's what she said.
Did she though?
Did she really?
Is that's?
She didn't have to mean it.
That's not what the detective said.
Do we have it on record that she said that, or is it just your word for it?
Your Honor, can the court reporter please read back the transcript?
Oh, poor Eric.
Is for myself, I've been working on a couple of Bad Dab Resurrection Lamenters, and I've also been kind of picking away at these Crimson Paladins, and had a couple other bust projects going on. So just kind of jumping all over the place. Nothing really super consistent.
Nice.
Cool.
So with that,
Cool.
let's move on to pick of the week. Pick of the week is gonna be, I think, gonna try and make a recurring segment here of picking cool stuff in the hobby that we've seen, whether it's miniature related, heresy related. It's a cool video you watched, a hobby technique you didn't know about before, cool blog post that you found, cool thing you saw on Instagram. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Let's see, Ben, what was your pick of the week?
So I posted something in our Discord, but like it was a really cool, just well done paint job that I really liked. But I'm actually gonna move to something different. There is 4 days left as of this recording, which is the 19th of September, for a Kickstarter called the Tactical Space Dwarf Army, and I really want it. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to get it yet, but it's a really reasonable buy-in for a shitload of sci-fi dwarfs.
Is this like an STL collection?
Yeah, yes, it is an STL collection, so it's for the 3D printer hobbyists out there. But like my militia army is all squat models, and the majority of them are all from Mantic's Forge Father line, and they're really nice. I backed a couple of the Kickstarters, and I really think they're solid models. But I've had a real hard time finding good dwarf STLs, over the last couple of years, which was kind of surprising to me. Like none of them look properly proportioned or don't have the right options for what I want to do. But this one has basically every weapon loadout that a militia army could use, and then some. So I really like the options that gives me. So I'm thinking about picking that up, but since we kind of are very forgiving about what models we use in various armies, and like almost everyone has used some pretty major proxies in their armies, especially for militia. Like I think these are going to be really nice to have in the collection. Even if someone just wanted like a squad of squats for like a mixed unit. Because Gray isn't yours like a mixed militia?
Yeah, mine's a mixed militia. Let me know when you get a handle on those, because the ones I actually have Mantic dwarves as well, and I have some of the older style ones where they were basically just a gun and head were press fit, and the rest was one piece.
Yeah, and I've got a bunch of those too. I like them, but they are very limiting, and
well, I was
taking
looking at
them
them
off of their base. I just put the link in on Discord, and we can put that in the show notes as well. But like it just lots of different weapon options, lots of different bodies, and like I'm all about having just options so that the army looks unique.
Yeah. What's the name of the company that's doing the Kickstarter?
That's a fantastic question. It is by
Capricorn, I think.
Capricorn Miniatures. It looks like they've done a few things in the past, though I am not immediately familiar. They're out of Toronto, Canada. They've done some. Oh, wait. That's things that they've backed. They've done some other 3D print stuff, but nothing as comprehensive as this one.
Yeah, these guys look cool. They're like, as opposed to the Mantic Games one that are kind of almost like Starship Trooper dwarves in space. These guys kind of more look like Fire Slayers in space. They've got like the big beards and mohawks and everything.
Mohawks.
I was gonna say they look even though I like the ones from Mantic, they look a little. I don't know. They look a little clean. These look a little bit more like they're all Necromunda dwarves.
Yeah, kind of.
Like they
The
all look
Mantic
just
ones-
grizzled as shit, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the Mantic ones are good, but I think they all kind of look, at least the old school ones, especially, they kind
They're
of look
very
like
static.
well, they're fantasy dwarves with ray guns.
Kind
I
of.
mean, yeah.
That's you're not entirely wrong.
I've actually removed those ones over into my I'm slowly building Mechanicum army, and I'm using them for Miterlock tech rolls. Because it's
Mhm.
kind of the same shape as a Miterlock gun.
Yeah. So,
So yeah, like I said, like I've been toying around with getting that. It's got 4 days left, and it's not a pricey buy-in. I've just been really, protective with my cash flow right now.
no,
But
I mean, especially because they're using Canado, so I mean, it basically, doubles the amount of value you can get out of it.
yeah, it's about I want to say it's about $50 for the whole collection, which is not at all bad.
No, that's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, and then I can just make as many of those bad boys as I want, because I think
Mhm.
it comes with 48 different like full built models, and then you can swap pieces wherever you want, and then I can go in and do my own modding and editing too. So
Mhm.
but yeah, that's what I have kind of thought was the coolest from this week.
Yeah. How about you, Eric? What's your pick of the week?
Nope, he's
Yeah,
falling
so
asleep.
I mentioned earlier. Now I'm working on some Night Lords, so I'm not
So
on the Instagram all that much. But Jake, you linked from what's it called? Loyalists Are Boring is the account guy made Nacred Thole, who I'm not running Terror Assault. I'm running the Swift Blade. But if I were to ever run Terror Assault, it would be for the sole purpose of utilizing Nacred Thole. He's not on a bike, so I can't use him in Swift Blade. But I mean, it looks really really good.
Mhm.
The character himself is super cool. His rules are super thematic, and it's a very well realized model. I like all the bits he used. I like some of the accents with like the chains around his whip hand. I like the axe he uses for the Devil's Due. I like the helmet.
Mhm. Like he's got a good esoteric mix of bits here. He's got looks like oh god, what's that dude's name? The loyalist Iron Warrior that like everybody always uses as a base for conversions.
Pure
um,
Valen.
Maybe.
no,
I
it's
don't know.
Drager, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Narek Draker. Yeah,
Drager.
Looks like he used some of his bits. Looks like
Oh, I
some
didn't know he did that a model.
Artelian score bits. Looks like a Sarum pattern helmet. Maybe a Conversion World axe head. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it looks pretty sick.
Yeah, Drager was a Warhammer World exclusive or something a couple years back.
Sure. Well, I mean,
He was very hard to get. Like you could get them in England at a Forge World store, and that was pretty much it.
Well,
Only for a limited time.
now there are numerous
other ways
and
to get 'em.
multitudinous ways of getting a hold of him now.
Yes.
I think he's pretty common fodder for conversions for that reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Gray, what's your pick of the week, buddy?
My pick of the so my pick of the week, I follow a Facebook group that's all for Emperor's Children stuff, and I saw somebody did a really cool conversion for a Fellblade where they did sonic cannons on it. Like they had printed and made sonic cannons for it in the Fellblade size instead of the normal twin tank barrel there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty thematic. So I mean, they were still running it as a Fellblade. It just looked different. It's
Yeah, that's pretty
aesthetic
sick.
change.
I'm into that.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
it was.
If you
stoked
send me the
about that.
pics of that, I'll see if I can find if that guy's got an Instagram page or something that we can link to.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and find it again.
Yeah. And then my pick of the week is the Instagram account Anfiaris. Excuse my dyslexia there. This is Barry Watkins. He's a pretty fantastic hobbyist and sculptor. And I think today or yesterday, it's been pretty recently, he put up, he took the new Imperial Fist Artificer Armor Praetor and did some green stuff work on him and kind of did a head swap and a couple other things and made a custom Sigismund that looks pretty fucking dope. It's replaced the head with, I think that it's either a Primaris or Custodes head, sculpted like a laurel onto the head, sculpted a tabard with like the Black Templar cross on it and everything like that. Swapped out the sword for Oathkeeper or whatever the hell that thing's called.
So someone actually made a conversion of Sigismund instead of someone making a conversion out of Sigismund.
I know it's real fucky, and I know it's like blowing your mind right now that that's the case, but I can confirm that it is indeed the case.
I have seen I mean, don't get me wrong, the model's fantastic. Like, I understand why everyone wants to use it as a conversion base. I'm not judging them for doing so, but man, I have seen so many of them. I think I saw someone like do a warlord Titan conversion out of a Sigismund body.
Yeah. I was I'm in a Facebook group that one of the admins asked to see some custom HQ builds, and he's like, first person that links a model based on Alexis Pollux gets banned.
Whoops.
Look, that's also a badass model. I'm not.
Yes. Why do the two fist models make the best conversion fodder for everybody else?
I don't know. They just did a real good job on them.
They're just real. I think it's because they're not overly cluttered. Like a lot of Imperial Fist model, or a lot of their iconography is universal, and then like they're not covered in a fist on everything that they have.
Sure.
Like your Ultramarines, they have a tabard. Every single strap has an Ultramarine logo, whereas the tabard, there's not at the bottom of the strap. That's probably why.
Yeah.
Fair.
But yeah, this is a sick model, and this guy's super talented, and I will be blowing up his DMs at some point to either teach me or sculpt something for me because he is absolutely nutty.
Excuse me, sir. How much for feet pics?
How much will feet pics get me?
Is it possible to have a bad pick of the week?
Waterfalls to sit under before he'll teach you.
I mean, sure. If you wanna get into some Spice Center, I guess we can do that.
Because I think my bad pick of the week is they just released pictures of the new Black Templars release, and one of the neophytes looks like Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder. Not his character that he
Simple
Jack. Simple Jack, yeah, that looks like Simple Jack.
It's got like this really bad bowl cut.
Well,
yeah.
The meme I saw about that is that the neophytes are humiliated with their haircuts, and when they get raised to the rank of full battle brother, they earn the right to shave their heads and get rid of the stupid haircut.
Oh man. See, do you guys remember about 15 years ago the Damnation Crusade comic books? For Black Templar?
I remember of them, but I never actually read them.
Mm-hmm.
That was where, if you remember all the Tank Red memes, that's where those came from.
Okay.
Twins they were and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dreadnought dreaming of threesomes with Sisters of Battle. Yeah.
I was really hoping, like, when I saw that the new army box, and like I was expecting a little bit more. Like, it's got a really nice the new High Marshal, or the new Marshal model that they've got in there is pretty nice. It's got the new Emperor's Champion, which is nice, and of course the Neophytes, which they're okay. But
see, I think the Emperor's Champion model would be my miss of the week. I'm not into that model at all.
I mean, I think he keeps with the. I think he keeps with the theme real well. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not a huge Black Templars player or fan, so it doesn't really bother me one way or the other. But I think it's well enough done.
Yeah,
just
me having an opinion about Black Templar stuff is like me having an opinion about like Swedish politics. Like, I mean, sure, I can have one, but like at the end of the day, does it really matter?
Yeah, this is a heresy podcast.
Yeah, I mean, presumably, like I think that's been yet to be established at this point. Honestly,
we can talk about what we want. You're talking about orcs, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
God.
I mean, you want to start your own podcast with blackjack and hookers, you go right on ahead.
This year, you probably played Heresy Period this year, so
it's true. I think I've played more Heresy games against orcs this year than anything else, so take that for how you will.
I think you guys have been the only ones I've played Heresy games against this year. Yeah. I've played all 3 you won.
Yeah.
It's been a rough year for it, honestly.
It really has.
Yeah.
It really has, but yeah. Anywho.
But yeah, so if anybody out there's interested in seeing what we talked about, all the links for all of our stuff will be down there, linked in the description of this episode. So you should go check it out. And I see that Chris has a pick of the week, but he is not here yet, so maybe we'll hit that up when he gets here, if he gets here.
Assuming he shows up.
I mean, it's typical Chris, you know.
I want to love that man. I really do. But
he just makes it so hard.
You know, his girl has grounded him. It be like that.
Sometimes it do in fact be like that.
Affairs of state take precedence over affairs of state, gentlemen.
It's true. It is absolutely true. Well, so yeah, let's move on to what our main topic tonight is going to be, and it's going to be something that I kind of overlooked and didn't really think too hard about, but it occurred to me by a couple listeners messaging me and saying, you know, basically, who are you people? Who the fuck are you guys?
Who are you, and why should I even fucking care?
Exactly.
Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
Who is your daddy and what does he do? So we're gonna have some introductions here. Just do a round table of who we are, kind of our origin stories, if you will, of kind of how we ended up here, at least in the hobby anyway. I know Ben will start it. You know, it was a cold day, and you know, it's a cold day in 1983.
Like, I realized that I'm the oldest of the group, but I'm not that old.
Well, I took a shot in the dark, man. What do you want from me?
I want you to do your lawyer thing and actually come to the case with facts.
I mean,
instead of assumptions.
You severely overestimate how much bullshitting goes on in the practice of law, sir.
I have watched every episode of Law and Order. No, I don't.
And then we'll talk briefly about what our armies are, at least that we currently have playable. I know everybody in this hobby has at least 2 or 3 army projects going on in some stages of infancy, but at least playable armies on the table that we could actually play a game with.
2 or 3, that's beautiful.
Well, at least I'm averaging here. I'm splitting the difference. You know, the people that have none are being made up for by the people that have 9. So
I guess that's valid.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet summer child.
So
right.
So yeah, who wants to start? Who wants to lead off?
Age 4 beauty, gentlemen.
Oh, god damn it.
God damn it.
Age before. That sucks double for me because I am the prettiest of the 4 of us as well.
Why are the pretty ones so dumb?
I've been skating along for entirely too long based on my good looks and giant penis, and I'm ugly and painfully Caucasian. So all right, I'll start. So I've always been I guess start off with I'm Ben.
Hi Ben.
You've been sober for 3 years.
I've been what for 3 years? No,
sorry.
I haven't even been sober for 3 days. So
Biggest step.
I started. I've been gaming my entire life. Like, I've always been into primarily video games. Growing up, got into some of the boutique style board games kind of in high school. Got into Magic the Gathering because everyone had a Magic the Gathering phase.
It's true.
But I didn't actually get into tabletop in general until I was in college. Um, the the way that my college like scheduled their semesters, you had your traditional fall and spring semesters, but you also had what they called a winter term, which was basically the entirety of January. You took one class all of January, and it was like 4-hour classes all day long, or all week long. And it was like a way to either get like a prereq that you needed, or you could dabble in something that you wanted to just that you're interested in, or there was a whole slew of like just off the wall kind of ridiculous classes. And my freshman year of college, there was a class that was offered called the Philosophy of Games, and it was all about like why is gaming important to a society, the long history of gaming and cultures around the world. It sounded super fucking interesting.
Yeah,
So
I'd take that class. Shit.
So I took it, and I was, there were no prerequisites. It was just, you could take it, and I didn't think anything of the fact that, in college, all of the courses are like numbered, and I had no thought to the fact that this was a 400 level class that I could take as a freshman. So I get in there, and
sounds like a trap.
Oh, dude, it was 100% a trap, and it was glorious. So the class was no shit. Like, it was a 50-50 split between people that were like me, that were like super into gaming and all of its facets and really wanted to take a deep dive in it, and then the other half of people that thought that this was going to be like a super easy just CLEP course that they weren't going to have to care through. And none of us realized until we got in there that it was being taught by the president of that side of the school. Like, so he was like a straight up like philosophy like guru. Like, he was huge. And it was just real interesting, and like through the course of the course, like, it was a fantastic course. Like, I can't speak enough good about it. Really changed my perception of just gaming in general. But one of the projects that he gave us was to, like, I had to teach a game to to whoever wanted to learn it, and then I had to learn a game from 2 other people. So everyone in the class chose a game to have a little after class session with whoever wanted to join in, and I had to teach them how to play these games. So I taught a number of people how to play Magic the Gathering. And so I took my collection out to the to the library, or where, I can't even remember where it was at this point. But then people came, and like, I showed them how to actually play the game, and I learned how to play Dungeons and Dragons from one of the other guys that was in the class, because I had never played that before. So from that experience led to me getting together with some of the other people in that class, and we ran our own D&D campaign, and it was great fun. I'm still friends with some of those people today. And eventually we were leaving class one day, and the professor grabbed us and was like, "Hey, I've got it on good authority that you guys have started playing Dungeons and Dragons." Like, yeah, we we learned it kind of in this class, and we jumped on it ourselves. He's like, "That's awesome. Can you play it for the class?" Like what? Yeah. Just get a session together. He very clearly had some understanding of the game, so he was like, yeah, get a session together, and you can do it in class. And I think that it would do really good to show a bunch of people who have no earthly clue what it is, and like actually show them what the game is like. Like, okay, so we get. It may have been the most expensive D&D session that I've ever played through since it was part of my tuition costs, so that I'm still paying off to this day.
Of course.
So we had a class, we played D&D. It was awesome, and then there was like a round table discussion for the last. Like when I say we went in there and we played a solid 3-hour like D&D session, and then the last hour of the class was all discussion about what we just played. So it was pretty fucking sweet. And we when we finished playing, and like the people like got to give their opinions on it. It was like it was very obvious that all of these people who had never seen it before were like, wow, I understand now. Like I understand why people would play it. That's not at all what we thought it was. Like they didn't know what it was, but that was not what they thought it was. So from there, I got way more into the tabletop like RPGs. Played a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons for the next couple years, and then of course other board games. It wasn't actually until my senior year that the idea of Warhammer came up. And I had said it kind of been talked about before, and I just kept saying like, there is no fucking way I'm gonna spend that much money on toys that I have to put together and paint my own goddamn self. Like that, I'm not doing that. That's stupid.
Bet.
And of course,
10 years later.
So, and I was in a fraternity, and my little brother in the fraternity, he had a big collection, and he was really keen on getting people to play. And some of the other guys in the fraternity were like, yeah, we're all gonna get together and we're gonna play it. And then some other people in my social circle were like, yeah, we're gonna do it too. I was like, well, fuck me. All right. So well, I can't be the only one that's not playing. And of course I've always been a huge like sci-fi buff, like, and I liked that theme and that imagery. Like I've always liked that aspect of Warhammer, but like the actual like buying and collecting and all that, like no, I had no desire. So I ended up going to this local game store, and it was like, I mean, you talk about hole in the wall. Like I think it was legit in a trailer, like one of those extra classrooms that they had to like tack on to your middle school because there wasn't enough. Like it was a whole store just in there, and they had a used Space Marine army, and then they had like a busted box Assault on Black Reach, because I started at the right when Fifth Ed had come out.
The heyday. So... The heady days of Assault on Black Reach box.
Well, so like it was well more than I wanted to spend, because I think for the little broken collection and then the Assault on Black Reach box, I think I ended up spending like, I don't know, $200-$250 or something like that. But I was like, okay, whatever. I got everything, and it was a Space Marine army, and like I didn't want to do any of the regular chapters, so I ended up just making one of my own, and just started getting into it. And like back then I was super ultra competitive, and I was like, I don't want to play this game and just get my ass handed to me over and over again. So like I really like studied it and figured out like how to play it right. And like here I go into my first game, and like everyone is saying like, okay, you like don't get worked up, everyone loses their first game, like just don't even worry about it. Like, okay, whatever. And they just kept saying that over and over and over again, and it just pissed me off. So of course the first game I play, I dominate. Absolutely ruin my opponent, and they're like, oh, this isn't good, we've created a monster. But so I got really into it over the next couple months, because like I said, it was the senior year of college. And we had a blast with it. Like we played at least once a week, and we would go into like the library or like some of the common areas on campus where we could just be in a group, and other people would come by and watch, and like they were real interested in it because I mean, even if you have no idea what's going on, Warhammer's interesting as shit to look at. So got into that, and then once I graduated and went back home to rural North Carolina, my opportunity to play kind of dried up. Like the closest game store to me was about a 45-minute drive, and I didn't fall out of the hobby. Like I still did a bunch of collecting, and I've always been big on finding like yard sale deals. So I was always going to like yard sales on the weekends or thrift stores, game stores all over, trying to find really good deals. And so I amassed a kind of an unnecessary fucking collection over the years. And then in 2011, I moved to Virginia, where there was a game store nearly in walking distance. And ever since I've come here, I've just really fallen hardcore into it. Like it's, most of my friends are into tabletop gaming of some sort, including Warhammer. I got real big into 3D printing, specifically because of my tabletop gaming. So now my collection is truly unnecessary.
Yeah.
And yeah,
As most are.
And like I've clearly got a problem. But yeah, that's kind of my history of getting into the game in general in a nutshell. But and now I've gotten to the point now where like I'm not only am I into the gaming part, but like as much as I like the hobby aspect of it, like I do like building, I do like painting, like that comes kind of secondary to the social aspect of it to me. Like the actual the actual community that surrounds it. Like I like helping manage a community and help building it. I have run numerous events over the years, including some stuff at conventions. That's always been that's a big that appeals to me. Like I really enjoy that aspect because like the models, they'll come and go. If they're not Warhammer, there'll be some other model. Like we'll play a fantasy game, we'll play some other sci-fi game, we'll play War Machine Hordes. It doesn't really matter what the game is. I think that's almost immaterial. Like it still just boils down to the people and the community that surrounds it.
Yeah. So it sounds like kind of like in opposite. Like so when I hear these stories from people, the pattern that 9 out of 10 times is followed is something along the lines of, I got into this when I was a kid, I went to college, discovered that the opposite sex existed, and then dropped out of the hobby for a few years, and then in my adult life picked it back up at some point. Where you are kind of the exception to that rule, where you started it in college and kind of like your young adult life, and then just kind of went from there.
Well, I guess the core parts of the hobby were those were always some of my main motivators in gaming. Being playing in a social environment, whether you're playing split screen multiplayer on like your Nintendo 64 or getting together with friends to play Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, anything like the what you are doing is kind of secondary to the fact that you're doing it with other people that are similarly minded. It gives you something to talk about. It gives you strategies to work on. It gives you lore to talk about and read about. Like it gives you like it almost gives you an instantaneous like in with certain circles of potential friends. And like that social aspect was always a huge thing for me. And so when it got to the point where I had that I could actually afford getting into this hobby, like it just worked out real well because like it scratches a lot of itches because I have an artistic side, and I really like being able to build and and convert and paint and sculpt, and I'm big into computer-based art. So being able to where my hobby has kind of evolved to now, where it's on the 3D print side of things, where I can go in and actually create physical things in my house, and play around on various software and like build and modify different files to create like my vision of things that I want to see on the tabletop. Like that's really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm. So I know you have like a huge collection of stuff, but like, what would you say? I mean, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but what would you say is kind of like your main couple armies and why you chose them?
Primarily, well, so when I got into Heresy specifically, the first army that I got into was Salamanders. Salamanders spoke to me for a couple of different reasons. I mean, aesthetically, I think that they're a very good-looking army. I like that the dragon motif and the flames. I like the green the variety of greens that you can use and the contrast with the oranges and reds. Like I think that it can be a very striking army. Lore-wise, I always thought that they were just cool. Purge everything with fire and Melta, and they're like, in the grand scheme of the Warhammer lore, like they're good guys, and I like playing good guys. And when you're talking about the Legion specifically, they may be the only ones that try to genuinely be good more times than not. So I got into them as my first real Heresy army, and then the Betrayal at Kalthbox came out not long after I started, so that was a real good way for me to to create a really solid Heresy force real quick. And I was working at a game store at the same time that sold the stuff, so I got it at a discount, so I was able to just amass a pretty reasonable force real quickly. I've always liked their rules.
Living the Christopher Lee, how could they have amassed an army so quickly meme?
Yeah, pretty much. They were, as I'm sure you know, one of my longest serving armies has always been Space Wolves. Like I've always really liked the Viking aesthetic. And when they came out with their new rule book in 5th ed, they came out with a whole bunch of new models, really cool detail, tons of different bits. So I got real heavy into it in 5th edition, and so I had amassed a huge Space Wolf army, but it didn't really work. The look didn't really work for the Heresy vibe. Like it just didn't mesh the way I wanted it to. And I had already kind of been dealing with my issues with how the 5th ed Space Wolves or the 40k Space Wolf line was like how they wanted to make it look. Like they had that really like bright powder blue armor, and it just didn't appeal to me.
That powder blue color is like the absolute worst.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of it, but I used it so that I could kind of stay in theme at that time. And then when I got into the Heresy and started learning more about like the what was going on then, and the actual different looks of the armor and stuff, I was like, oh, I really like that dark gray and with the red and black trim. Like I thought that was sweet. So I'm still in the process of just transferring everything over to that color scheme. So Space Wolves are what I would consider my main army now. Whether their rules have been good or bad, I've enjoyed just the look of them. And their lore, so I will always stick with them. But it does also help that in Heresy their rules are pretty good.
Yeah, they're probably one of the strongest legions.
They are. I think that they are one of the stronger legions, but they do have what I consider some pretty hefty drawbacks. But I think that they're good because a lot of the other legions have not been updated. Like everyone else just not everyone, but like a lot of the older legions could go with just a couple of fixes to bring them up to the same level. And like I know that the way that I play my wolves is effective. I don't think that I play them in the most broken way that they could be, but they've always in my gaming been a very efficient and strong force, and I, that's good that I haven't played an army that's just always been balls, but but yeah. So I mean, I've got my collection is massive, and I'm ADD as hell, so I just kind of jump from one project to the other. So I've got militia. I'm starting Solar Ox. I've got Mechanicum.
When we were
Thousand
starting our
Suns.
escalation league, you were talking about doing some fists as well, I think.
I my Imperial Fist, Dark Angels. Just like it's easy for me to decide like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get my foundation army set for this legion, get everything ready, and then like I'll start on a squad, and then something will kick me out of it, and then by the time I get back, like I'm really keen on something else. So I just jump way back and forth too often, and that's been a bit of a problem for me over the years.
Yeah, like last year for Secret Santa, I drew you. Every year for our heresy group, we do a Secret Santa exchange where our members are paired up or given a recipient to make or buy a gift for. And I drew Ben last year, and I always try to go like balls deep on Secret Santa. So like I had to do something crazy for Ben, so I ended up So I talked to Mike, one of our other members, who we'll get on the cast at some point, but I asked Mike, who's known Ben for a really long time, like, all right, what army is Ben like super jazzed about right now? And he's like, well, probably the Thousand Suns. I'm like, all right, cool, got it. So I got and painted Ben a glaive for his Thousand Suns.
And it's fantastic.
I have not heard you mention Thousand Suns in a year.
Okay, now that's unfair because I really haven't mentioned much of anything. Like I'm still working on the Thousand Suns, Dark Angels, and Imperial Fists are kind of just they're all sitting on my hobby table right now in different phases of completion.
Right. Yeah.
So, but that just goes back to my point. Like, I get really jazzed about something, and I want to like get into it. So I end up collecting all of this shit, and then like I'll get a squad done. I'm like, I'm tired now.
I do remember you did like all of your bases for I think it was the Thousand Suns.
I did a bunch of like snow and ice themed bases because I wanted to do something that you don't normally see with Thousand Suns, and I thought that bright blue and white basing would just contrast real nice with that candy apple red armor. And like I think that the finished product looks really good, but then Book 9 Crusade came out. I was like, holy shit, Dark Angels look fantastic.
Yeah. It's true.
So I got deep into those for a little bit. Like I will definitely go back and do more work on them and like complete them at some point. Like that's not a question. But like my biggest problem now has been like the last year and a half with the pandemic and my basically no gaming schedule anymore. Like I'm very game motivated or event motivated with my work. Like knowing that I have a game coming up or knowing that a convention is coming up, that really pushes me to get more work done. And without that, I've really struggled. That's why I haven't done much for myself, and everything that I've done has been commissioned for someone else.
Yeah. Well, so that's Ben, at least up to now. And I know, I mean, I think I can speak for everybody when I say that Ben's been pretty much a cornerstone.
Ben's pretty.
Ben's pretty. I mean, this is not wrong. He is a gorgeous man, but he's also been more or less like. At some times, I think you've been pretty much single-handedly keeping the heresy alive in our area. Definitely a cornerstone.
I appreciate you saying that. A lot of you guys I've not known for as long, but like whenever I started here in this area, like there was a very strong Warhammer community, but there was no heresy community whatsoever. It didn't really exist, and for the game system didn't exist for the first few years that I was here. But the gaming community in this area has changed immensely in the last decade. In fact, I mean, really, it's exploded, and it like not just Warhammer, but just gaming in general has just gotten massive here. And one thing that we learned very early on, whenever I was working at one of the local game shops, was like most of these game systems don't they won't succeed on their own. They really need champions to promote them and get them going. And once they get some momentum, then it can change a little bit, and the baton can be passed along from one person to the other in terms of keeping it going. But that was that was one of my goals for a while, was like, I really want this to work. I want this this community to expand and grow, and I want it to be known for some real positive things. And I think that while I got it started, like that, the people that have gone joined in and helped continue it are really they're the reason why it's been so successful. And I know we were going to talk about it in another cast, but like just having a community that like feels inclusive and feels just positive and welcoming, like that's so important. And like we've gotten a ton of kudos from people who have come into the area, or they've left to see and like joined other communities, and like they reach back out and they're like, wow, like I didn't realize what we had until I don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
That's huge. And like we have the Hampton Roads Heresy group has pretty strong ties to heresy communities all up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and like people reach out to us and ask how we do things, and invite us to go be a part of their events and stuff. Like that's major to me. That means that we're doing something right. And I just want to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have at least, if not more, at least one episode on community building and kind of digging more down to the weeds on that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so we'll go ahead and move on here. Let's see. Let's do Gray. Let's hear from you, buddy.
All right, so I started Warhammer. It had to have been 4th edition. I was still middle school. I had a couple of guys that I was friends with, and they were all collecting. They were collecting Dark Angels and Dark Eldar were big at the time. And so I went out, bought some stuff. I think at the time the box was the Battle for McCrag was the box. Went out, bought the Battle of McCrag box. And about the week I bought it, they all decided, nah, we're not playing anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty on brand for most Warhammer gamers. Let's be honest.
So I put it, I put it on the shelf and didn't touch it. Got to probably my senior year of high school, and I was doing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and collecting miniatures for that. And my parents got me the Assault on Blackreach box, like right as I was graduating, right around that time period, the 2008 time period. And
man, I love the Assault on Blackreach box. Gosh,
that was a great box.
Can we talk about that for a second? How like
probably one of the best boxes they ever put out.
Yeah, I think it was the first box, if I remember correctly, that like came with like a no shit whole ass Dreadnought and fucking Terminator squad.
Yeah,
right.
So it was
actually a playable army.
Yeah, it was a super good value, because you got, if I remember correctly, you got 2 like tactical squads, a chapter master, a Dreadnought, and a Terminator squad, and on the Space Marine side, and then on the Orcs you got like 2 squads of boys, a squad of Death Copters, 5 knobs, and a war boss.
Yeah.
So I think points wise, it was skewed towards the Space Marines, but like it was
Well, you only got
was a
one squad
really
of tech.
oh, it was one
It was
squad.
one,
Okay.
yeah, it was one tech squad, but you could still split them back then, so you had 2 troop choices.
Yeah, so it was a really good value at the time, because the one before that was also that was the one that had Space Marines and
Pyramid.
Tyranid. Yeah, there's
Yeah, I
the
believe it was the
battle for
McCrag,
McCrag.
yeah.
It was
Yeah, and that
McCrag,
was
and like
just the tactical squad.
it was a decent value, and it did come with some some terrain pieces. I mean, what Warhammer player has not gotten the lander terrain at some point in their collection? But
We got 3 of those.
but yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But like but yeah, the 5th edition box set was just, it really like broke out more in 5th edition than it had in in previous editions. So
For sure.
Yeah. The 5th and 6th edition starters were probably the best for value of all of them, as far as what you got versus what you paid. But so I went and I had gotten that from my parents. I was like, okay, cool. Not gonna touch this. Let's put it on my shelf. So a buddy of mine, a drinking buddy of mine, freshman year of college, is like, "Hey man, I'm playing this game Warhammer," and I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard of it. Nobody plays. I got some stuff." He's like, "Well, put it together. We'll go play." I'm like, "I don't want to do that." So I go play, and I had such a good time. He brought his Black Templars. I had such a good time playing. He's like, I went out and bought Pedro Cantor in the game shop downstairs the same day. Ended up collecting Crimson Fists, and from me and him, we ended up getting a lot of people at my college playing it. Because that was kind of cool. And then through my buddy there, I met Rich. And about 2.5 years ago, Rich is like, "Hey man, why don't you come out and play Heresy? 40K is whack. Come play Heresy." I'm like, "Well, I don't know if I want to get into another game." And
Not
I came
wrong.
out to, yeah, and I came out to. This was right when 8th edition started. He invited me out. I came out to one of the events that the local Heresy group here had at Atlantis, and I proxied Imperial Fists, and I'm like, "Hey, the Heresy is great. I love this. Let me go look into building a Heresy army."
Was that the one that me and Mike ran at Atlantis Norfolk?
Yeah, that was one. I think it was the last one we did dog tags for.
Oh yeah.
We need to do that again.
We do.
Do dog tags again.
Like honestly, what I remember most about that particular event was afterwards, or during our break, when we went over to Burger King and just got an immense load of food, like far too much food than the 3 of us should have eaten in one lunch.
It was an obscene amount of Burger King nuggets.
Yeah, I think we did end up getting like 30 or 40 nuggets a piece.
Yeah, we did like 120 nuggets at once.
I mean, at Burger King, that was probably like $6.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, they were having some sort of weird special that day where it's like you got like a 10-piece nuggets, a fry, and a drink for like $3.99. So
there it is.
We all got the special, and then we just filled out nuggets as needed.
Have it your fucking way, dude.
Goddamn right. So, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I was like, "Oh, I want to get into this game. I want to build an army. I don't want to paint yellow for any reason." I was like, "Okay, well, I'll paint purple. That can't be that hard." Oh boy. Boy, did I learn.
Purple is challenging in a completely different set of ways.
Yes.
Yep. You'll notice none of my armies are purple.
So, Emperor's Children collected a lot of Emperor's Children very quickly, doing sort of the used and garage sale kind of deal.
I will say you are kind of our. I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn here for people that aren't represented, but you definitely seem to be the local guru, or at least the humanitarian in the amount of models that you rescue from other places and renovate into your army.
I mean, the only person that I think may have you beat is that local Adam. That he doesn't even play Heresy. I don't even know that he plays the game. he
Sure.
just gets models and paints them.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think this summer was my personal best. I think I did rescued 3 predators and 5 rhinos this summer.
And by
For,
rescued, he means obtained, repainted, and they are now complete, sitting on your shelf. Unless I'm wrong.
Correct.
Yep.
I'll have to throw a picture up at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We can absolutely link that.
But yeah, it was pretty good. So I've run Emperor's Children. I got about 7K of those.
Was the reason you chose Emperor's Children literally just, I don't want to paint yellow, I'll paint something else instead, or is there something else about the army that spoke to you?
So it was one of those things. I was looking, and I had run Crimson Fists so long, and so I'd done the very, story-wise, they're very stoic. They're like underdog stoic. They're always dirty, covered in crap, half dead, and they're the good guys. So I'm like, I wanted to play something that was the opposite of that.
Sure.
And
so covered in crap, but bad guys.
Well, I mean, that comes towards the end of the
Death Guard.
So I wanted
literal crap in their case.
Yeah.
So I went with that's the Crimson Fist always down in the mud. So I was like, what is the opposite? They're bad guys and they're Mr. Clean, Mr. Ornate, and I was like, well, that's Emperor's Children all day.
Yeah, for sure.
They're the bad guys, and the perfectly coiffed, platinum blonde dye job. Got the Lee press-on fingernails, the whole works.
Until they start covering themselves in crap.
Unwind with a little murder poo.
Just pull a Doom Rider and do a lot of cocaine about it, but which I feel like he needs a 30K model. Like, we need what was Doom Rider before Doom Rider. But so I went. Do what?
No, I tend to agree with you.
But that would be cool. So I enjoyed them, and then last year's Escalate, or was it last or year before last?
Well, technically 2 years ago, but
2 years. 2019 Escalation League, like end of 2019.
Well, yeah, it was like it kicked off in January of last year.
And then,
I guess okay. So technically, you're not wrong. Okay, all right, never mind. Don't mind me. Carry on. I've made my fuck up for the episode. Now I'm good.
Perfect.
Just one. just the one.
Hey man, I'm striving for greatness here. All right.
Yep.
Wanted to keep up my theme of just doing something completely different, and I started doing militia for Escalation. And I decided to make life more difficult for myself. The whole army was going to be converted with third-party parts to be a female militia. And lucked into a bunch of deals. Somebody sold me 3 Bane Blades for like $100. I was like, okay, that's good and great, awesome. So those are my 2 main Heresy armies. I have some side projects I'm working on. I have a small Night House and a small Space Wolves themed Black Shield Force.
Neat.
I know you've got at least a couple Custodes, because that's who you played me for.
Yeah.
Or Talons, I should say, not Custodes, Talons.
Yeah, and I just started messing around with Talons this year for their Escalation League.
Which, to clarify for the listeners, Escalation League is basically what we call like a slow grow campaign. We'll start off. We've been trying to. I mean, we would have kept it going last year, but obviously couldn't for those reasons. So we'll start off with a small. We'll have players join up with small 500-point forces and play games and kind of record the results and have an overall narrative. And each month the army size increases by a certain amount of points. So for the low amounts we'll do 250 and then 250 and eventually we're growing by 500 points a month. And the kind of goal I had in mind when we were kind of organizing it last year was to get everybody that was new to the hobby or that wanted a new army up to a playable standard by the time that Nova ran around, which the Nova Open is our kind of local big convention. We're out in the east coast of Virginia, and Nova Open takes place in Washington, D.C., which is only a 2 or 3 hour drive away. So that's kind of like our home convention that we always go to, and we go to the Heresy events there. And so the idea was to have everybody up to a playable army by the time that event ran around, so that everybody could come up and go and play together and have a blast. And obviously that didn't pan out, but continued that this year as well, but we incorporated the Oz 30K Crusade system for Heresy, ported over from the new 9th edition Crusade system, which we've been having a lot of fun with that. We kicked that off a few months ago, back in June, I think, June or July.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
I'd actually forgot about the tones. They're sitting right next to me. I completely forgot about them.
Yeah, admittedly, I haven't gotten any games in at all this month. Just has been, too much else going on.
Yeah, it's been hard.
Newest thing on the horizon here is expanding out to, speaking of the Oz 30K stuff, is building a destroyer company, which comes out of the Mournival guys. I think they're Australian as well, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, put
Nice.
together a destroyer company.
There you go.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
so
man.
There you go. That's me.
That is great. All right, let's hear from you, Eric.
All right, yeah, so, kind of a similar theme here. I got started around probably 2007 or so, 2006, actually from a RuneScape fan site, one of those forums back then. One of the guys there introduced me to the Eisenhorn novel series. So I started reading that, played Dawn of War on the PC, Red Gaunt's Ghosts. That was me all through high school, reading that kind of stuff, and didn't actually start playing for real until I got to college. Kind of a similar deal to Ben, where I started there when a lot of people were not. Where everybody else was taking their breaks is when I was really getting into it. And that was, the very end of 5th edition. I played maybe 2 games of 5th before 6th came in. And there was a local store there that they had a pretty dedicated group, and they had a kind of a campaign system where we'd meet every week for campaign admin and territories and things like that, because it was that kind of campaign, and then use that day to schedule games.
Did you guys use the planetary invasion system or whatever that Games Workshop had back then?
Something like that. I don't really remember. I just showed up.
I just play here, man.
Yeah, pretty much. So then after I graduated, I came local. Was actually on the Daka forums in their dudes are looking for dudes section, and
nice.
Found a guy, started playing with him, and just kind of took off from there. Got into Heresy via some of those guys there. We were playing. Matt was actually in that Dark Heresy campaign, so we and I got exposed to Heresy from that. Book 6 had just come out. I think Betrayal at Calth had either just come out or was just about to, and I've just kind of kept in it from there. So from the very start, I'm a World Eaters player till end of days. I got the very first models I ever bought were the old metal Chaos Raptors. Never actually built them. They're still sitting unassembled somewhere unknown. Then I started getting, Berserkers, and I've played over the course of 40K and 30K about 9 different armies. Only 3 of those are not Chaos, and of those Chaos aligned, only one of them isn't Cornate, that being the Night Lords that I'm just starting.
Yeah.
So, kind of a one-trick pony is what I'm hearing.
You know, it's funny you should mention that because of the 4 heresy armies that I've got, those being World Eaters, the White Scars, Orcs from the Oz 30K Great Crusade Greenskin Empire book, and now the Night Lords. 3 of those are all bike or predominantly bike armies. The other one is still a very fast moving spear tip, lots of assault marines, drop pods, that kind of deal.
And
Man, those little ones.
they are also 3 of the 4 of them are also predominantly red and white.
Yeah, so you know, you guys talk about oh, I don't want to paint yellow, oh, I don't want to paint purple. Yeah, I painted a lot of white. And by painting a lot of white, I mean mostly I just spray prime white and kind of leave it at that. I do paint a little
keep it
darker
simple.
gray over my World Eaters to give them a little more of a distinctive look from the bright white scars. But I also have there's a color plate in book 6 that depicts a mid-heresy World Eater scheme of the sort of the proto 40K look, where they've got the red shoulder pauldrons instead of the blue. So I built my entire army out of that single color plate. So that with the white scars, I've gotten a lot of interesting looks.
Yeah.
I remember that color plate. That's a actually really nice scheme, the red with the white,
Yep,
or the
really
red.
like it. I like it enough to build 2 armies out of it.
There you go.
Yeah. So what attracted you to Corn?
Me.
I mean, also, I mean, I thought we already went over your big penis, Ben.
You can't get over it.
I mean, you can try.
What are we talking about?
But many of us have been under it.
Yeah, so you know, I was always kind of, you know, the edgelord teenager. I saw, oh, Corn, blood for the blood god. Hell yeah, I'm gonna get into that. You know, do a bunch of butchering, and as I've kind of grown out of that, you know, you never grow out of the idea of I want to run a whole bunch of dudes with chain axes, because chain axes are the coolest thing to come out of anything in Games Workshop, and you can't kill. I will not die on that hill because you can't kill me.
Because he's strength five.
Some of our games prove that was a fucking lie.
Yeah, it just sort of grown out of there. You know, I've always liked Karn. He's the coolest guy in anything GW's made, in my opinion. So
He is a great guy.
I don't run him all that much anymore. I've kind of moved away from named and special characters, but Karn always has a place in an army. You know, on the occasion that I see fit to use named characters, he's the only one for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite way. I've as I've gotten more into heresy, I didn't used to like running named characters because I thought it was boring. But now that I've kind of gotten into the heresy more, I'm kind of realizing that even if there aren't rules for the named character that I want to use, I'll still especially now with Mournival having their build a character rules that are kind of more bespoke and kind of codified. I'll build a character that I want to use and just kind of use them as a jumping off point. So I can respect that though. That
yeah, I think really a lot of it has come down to, you know, I've grown a much bigger appreciation for creating my own characters. Like, you know, every HQ that I have outside of my orcs and Karn is a kit bash, and I know that's true for a lot of people. But you know, like the Night Lords that I'm doing now, you know, I'm doing Swiftblade, which right off the bat requires 3 HQs. So I'm doing them each as, and this is not an original idea. They're each sort of a different clan that's brought together, and I've got names for them all in titles. You know, I've got a bone helmet scheme for one clan who's led by the Baron of Bones. My main praetor is the Nightmare King, and he's got The talent of Horus from the 40k Abaddon kit is his Paragon Blade because Lightning Claws are cool as hell. And when have you ever seen a Lightning Claw Paragon Blade?
I mean, there's nothing better than a Paragon Blade except for 4 of them.
Exactly. And then the guy that I was working on tonight is I think I'm calling him the Unchained Lord, and he's just gonna have a bunch of jeweler's chains strewn all across him. So it's a real chance to take a whole bunch of really neat stuff and kind of put them all together and make your own characters. And that's not to say I'm opposed to named characters. Like I said, I'm jonesing for my own Nacred Thole. And again, and that's another guy that he doesn't have an official model. So if I want to use him, I'm gonna have to make my own.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for making the hobby your own as well. If you enjoy making your own characters and kit bash and stuff, because I know you talked about another thing that we like to do. That's like my my personal favorite thing and kind of my like passion project baby is as I mentioned before, we do the Secret Santa exchange, and we've just recently kind of kicked that off for the 2021 year. And I know you were telling me that your project is I mean, I think we did the pairings 2 or 3 days ago, and Eric's like, yeah, I've already got mine built out of my bits box.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which, like, the rest of us are like still planning on, like, okay, so what do I need to order? What kits do I need to get? And when do I need to get them here by to make sure they're done or whatever?
Yeah, and one more thing I'll mention. I'll talk about my White Scars a bit because they are really, right behind the World Eaters in terms of things I really enjoy. And that's another thing that I've really put effort into creatively. Number one, I have all my jet bikes are slightly modified from the Mantic Games jet bikes because I'm not a huge fan of the Forge World Scimitars. I think something a lot sleeker looking fits the White Scars a lot better. But I'm also somewhat of a Mongol Empire buff to a small degree. So a lot of the fluff that I have behind them is, direct comparisons to Subutai the Valiant, who was one of Genghis Khan's big generals who led the initial assaults into Europe. And that's kind of what I base that particular force off of. So everything is real fast moving. The only tank I have is a fast tank. It's a Sakaran. Lots of speeders, artillery, which are a thing that the Mongols used heavily. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, no, they were big on it. They took it from China and took it all across the world, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Along with Genghis Khan's genes.
God, man, just a fucking machine.
Literally.
Yeah.
Isn't it something like 1 in 100 people is related to him or something like that?
I think it's like, I think the numbers are better than that.
Some astonishingly high number.
Probably talking.
It would be. I'm not gonna. I don't want to give the government my my DNA, but it would be kind of funny to do like one of those 23andMe DNA tests and to see which one in our group is related to Genghis Khan, and it not be Eric. Like, I think that would be funny.
So like in the 23andMe, there's always that other.
I would have a good shot coming out of the Golden Horde. I've got a lot of Eastern Europe, a lot of Slavic background. It's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible.
I don't know how Slavic you can pronounce to be. I've never seen you wear anything Adidas.
I mean, I've got my. Okay, I have a Nike tracksuit hanging up in my closet. But
I mean, that's not.
I realize.
So, I mean,
basically a race
23andMe,
trader.
They have that. Everyone's got that 1% that just says "other" on the 23andMe. That's what other is. It's just Genghis Khan.
Just Genghis Khan. Okay, yeah. I mean,
it's not Mongolian. It's Genghis Khan. It's different.
Him specifically. Yes. God damn it. Oh man. Well, so I guess that brings us to me. So
that's the end of the show, folks.
Yeah, that's the end of the show. Nobody cares. Fucking strap in. I think I've briefly talked about this. Not obviously not on the cast, but to like other members of the group. But I have this vivid memory of being in, I don't know, maybe 4th or 5th grade, probably 5th grade. So this would have been, I don't know,
2012.
2005 or 6 maybe, and watching an episode of Dexter's Lab where the kids were all playing Dungeons and Dragons, but obviously because it's Dexter's Lab, they can like go into like a hologram and like live the Dungeons and Dragons that they're playing, and they had like the whole grid all mapped out in his fucking basement lab thing that he had, and I was like, dude, that looks like the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It blew my little baby brain. So like before the episode was even over, I had gone and like gotten big pieces of paper and started like mapping out like dungeon tiles and shit, and I begged my mom for probably a week to take me to a game store. The game store we ended up going to was One-Eyed Jack's, which is in Carytown in Richmond, and I think it's still there. I checked earlier, and I think they're still open. But so we walked in, and there's some Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, these are just like books. Like that's cool, but like But I turn around, and what do I see? But the Games Workshop display. And on that display, they have the like brand new, I think released within the past month or two, Lord of the Rings Two Towers starter box. And I mean that was it, because that was back when those movies were hot. And obviously,
You're still hung.
I'm a grade schooler, so I don't have the funds to make my own decisions. So obviously we gotta use the bank of mom. And she was much more into the idea of buying me Lord of the Rings stuff than Warhammer Titty Demons and Dungeons and Dragons, beholder face tentacle monsters on the cover. So I ended up coming home with the Lord of the Rings box, and I played Lord of the Rings for a good long bit, and finally got the permission to get into 40K, which I think again was the same kind of time as like the Battle for Macragge and Assault on Blackreach boxes, somewhere in I guess that 4th, 5th edition window. Whenever the Tau came out is when I started 40K, because Tau were my first 40K army. Because
that'd be 3rd.
Okay, I mean it was
came
probably
out. Well, they got a codex in 4th too, I think.
Okay, because I remember like obsessing over the codices and like the rules and everything. But not actually really getting to play, because at the time the only game store we knew of was like 25 or 30 minutes away. So, not only is it far, but I've got to rely on my parents to get me there. And so I was lucky if I got down there like once a month to play. And we've all been in a Games Workshop store. There's fucking 3 tables to go around, and so the middle schooler gets kicked off the tables. So I turned much more to like hobbying, and also made the decision that I was tired of getting my ass kicked with Tau, getting beaten up in Melee. So I was like, yeah. So similar to Gray, I was like, okay, so what's the opposite of Tau? Okay, well, Space Marines, yeah, that's cool. I like Space Marines. Space Marines are cool. All right, what's the like most beatiest Space Marines I can possibly do? Well, there's the there's the chapters that literally have fist in their name. There's the Space Wolves, who are space murder Vikings, and then Blood Angels, who are vampires in space. And I'm like, I'm not really into the Wolferson stuff, so I ended up getting into the Blood Angels, and I have had them ever since, although they've kind of gone through some different iterations between.
That was a really good time for Blood Angels too.
Yeah, it was right at the end. I still have it. It was like the last, like right when I got the army, was right when the newest Marine Codex was coming out, because the Blood Angels still had the little like 3rd edition pamphlet that was their rules basically.
Yeah.
and
I got that 5th Ed Codex, and that was nasty.
yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Which I don't remember ever really being able to make that much use of, to be honest. But I kind of went through. First, I played Blood Angels proper and had a fully painted army for the first time in my life, and then decided to scrap that because I didn't like it. You know, a 7th grader deciding that he's not happy with his artistic talents. So then I jumped in and started painting Angel Sanguine, which are the like black and red split ones.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
And then right kind of heading into high school and kind of the end of high school when the hobby kind of started to peter out, I got into Lamenters, painting yellow and checkers and all that shit. So then had that break, the famous notorious break from the hobby kind of in college. I had my stuff with me, and I would paint stuff every now and then, but really the only time I would pick up a brush and paint would be when I'd gotten pissed off at Call of Duty and had rage quit for the day. But then when I went to law school, I was home visiting for the summer and was like, well, I didn't land an internship or anything, and I'm just kind of going to be hanging around this summer. What can I do? I'm like, oh, I've got that ghost keel that I bought like way back when that new wave of Tau stuff had come out, whenever that was. So I started doing that stuff, and then I've just been hooked ever since. And then maybe I think that was right when 8th edition was dropping. I went to a miniature market, and I think the miniature market was literally the release day of 8th edition, and I had no idea and was going in completely blind.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So maybe about 6 months into that, I was like, man, this game doesn't really feel like I remember it feeling. Like this doesn't play the same. This doesn't really scratch the same itch for me. So then, obviously my wandering eyes turned to Heresy. And that was with the Richmond 30K guys who these are the guys that do the Remembrature's Retreat podcast, and they definitely got me into the hobby. And I remember being on a vacation somewhere, a trip with my dad, and pretty much spent the entire time on my phone in their chat deciding what army I was going to play. And I remember waffling and being like, okay, I need to just buy something and commit, because if I keep waffling, I'm never going to make a decision. So I just committed, and I bought myself a set of Grave Warden Terminators and shipped them to my to-be address at the new condo I was going to be living in that year. And then by the time I had ordered them and they arrived, I had changed my mind again and decided to just stick with Blood Angels and just be the Blood Angels guy.
That also sounds about right.
Yep. So yeah, obviously Blood Angels are my army. The beat stick part is kind of what attracted me to them originally, but just also the kind of, I mean, maybe the edgelord stuff like Eric talked about, maybe a little bit. I mean, obviously the Twilight memes were real back then, because I mean, you do have the Space Wolves and the Blood Angels. You got Team Jacob and Team Edward. And so it's just kind of stuck with them ever since. They're just I love them. They're great. The models are all beautiful. I love painting red. It's just such an interesting color to play with and be able to do interesting things with. And then the other main army I've been working on for the past year and a half or so has been kind of a Great Crusade Luna Wolves project that started with another guy from Richmond 30K who had the idea to do a Luna Wolves project and was getting out of it, and so I picked up his stuff and picked up where he left off. And I'd say predominantly a hobbyist first, and I'm always looking to push my painting and get better. So I decided to paint this entire army in non-metallic metal, because I was like, well, I don't know how to paint non-metallic metal, and what better way to make myself practice than to commit to doing a whole army of it. So that's where we sit. I think at this point I've gotten about maybe 11 or 1200 points of it all painted. I'll have some pictures down in the description if anybody's curious. But yeah, it's super fun. I like the Sons of Horus are kind of a different. I just run them as Loyalist Sons of Horus, and got a very different play style than the Blood Angels. Not only do you have the Luna Wolves and Blood Angels kind of Great Crusade dynamic duo, super friends vibe, but Blood Angels, are very combat oriented, fast, hard hitting, whereas the Sons of Horus are more of a mid-range skirmishing kind of veteran elite unit type army. So just kind of spoke to me. And then I've got the myriad of other small projects here and there. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but I think the kind of what turned you on to the biker gang list for the Night Lords was when we were talking about that stupid Iron Warriors jet bike list that we were workshopping for a while for me.
Yeah, it was. No, I think it was just because I hadn't actually sat down and read Book 9 until then for some reason.
Gotcha.
But that Iron Warriors jet bike army was something I'd been swirling around for a long time.
Yeah. So we can talk more about that another time, or maybe we'll just keep that one to ourselves and not unleash that plague upon humanity. At least not quite yet. I get a crack with it first, and then it can be a cancerous disease that spreads. But
well, here's a fun fact for the listeners that took Jake and I a little while to figure out. We were actually at the same college at the same time, but he was on his gaming hiatus while I was just getting started, so we never actually managed to meet up at all. Boy, what a time that would have been, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would have put a lot fewer hours into Call of Duty, that's for goddamn sure. Fucking
Poor
Bro,
Bonnie, she would have had to have been in competition with Eric, and that's just not a good day for anybody.
Oh no, I didn't meet my
Especially
fiance
me.
until after college, but
Okay, then she never would have had a chance. Got it.
exactly, dude. But yeah, so that's me. Always looking to try something new with painting, and I love doing new stuff. So I've got half a dozen projects in the chamber. I've got a word bearers army that I've started. I've got some kind of plan for some kind of traitor or black shield salamanders army at some point. I've got that Iron Warriors list in my pocket that I might make at some point. Might be an army to paint for a weekend, go quick with it. And I've got some Vostroyan militia that I play. I was playing for Escalation last year, and right about as I got to the fun part, where I was going to be able to start bringing Lehman Russes and shit, is when pandemic kind of kicked off in the States, and I couldn't really play anymore. So they've kind of been in limbo ever since. But yeah, so that's us. That is at least same members as last time. We're kind of trying to be a community-driven podcast, and so anybody that wants to come on and kind of talk and be involved in the conversation is welcome to do so. So I know we'll have more people join in at some point. At least the people that we've mentioned today. And more besides. But so I think the some combination of the four of us will be kind of your core group, at least for now. So introduce the MCs a little bit and kind of learn who we are, and learn how big of asses we are in our various different ways between now and whenever you decide to stop listening to our moronic asses.
I mean, I've tried for a couple of years now. It hasn't really worked. I still talk to y'all more than most anybody.
It's true.
Yeah. Just because we haven't gotten to the salty parts of the podcasting yet. Once we get salty, that's when things are going to take a negative turn.
No, it's not salty. It's we have some very strong, well thought out opinions, and the company is not listening to us, and they should.
I mean, they should just give it over to us if we're being real, but...
I mean, yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Be a whole lot cooler.
I mean,
They
there
could give
was
it to me. They
that.
wouldn't even have to change the initials. It'd still be GW. It'd just be Gray's Workshop.
We're gonna we're gonna make our own miniature wargaming with hookers and blackjack.
Gray's
Oh, man.
Gray's Wank Shop.
That's right.
All of your.
well, I
That's
mean,
by wankers.
hmm,
I mean,
I don't know that I would
Perfect.
subscribe to that, but I mean, wouldn't be the worst $10 I've spent either.
there was that shot I fired across Warhammer Community's bow the other day. They
Oh,
made
God.
made a post about what's your favorite notable conflict or battle from the Horus Heresy, and I responded with whichever one gets me a new plastic box set.
There, I thought our favorite battle was going to be the fight against out of print Last Chance to Buy. I thought that was our favorite battle.
I thought our favorite battle was GW against their fan animations.
Oh boy.
I don't know. I'm kind of big on GW versus the 3D print community. I'm kind of big into that right now.
Lots of different hills for Games Workshop to choose to try to die on, for sure.
Yep.
My personal favorite is when they tried to trademark the words space and marine.
Yeah, I mean, those fun times.
And Imperial and Guard.
Halberd,
Almost
sword.
almost as bad as King trying to trademark the word candy.
Yep.
That's
All of these things are true.
yeah, and if you don't
That's great.
believe us, look it up. It's there, I promise.
Yeah. That's kind of why some of our conversations are tinted a little bit, and we're not obvious GW and Forge World like fanboys. Like, don't get me wrong, I like their product, and they make some good decisions, but they make some really fucking bad ones too.
I think our whole mindset for this is that we're not trying to shill, and we're not trying to be negative. We're just trying to be realistic and just straight with people, and not be blowing smoke up anybody's collected assholes.
Yeah,
Kind of
that's the way I look at it.
be real
Yeah.
and be realistic and pragmatic about the stuff. So, call out
Unfortunately,
good
this means
stuff.
we'll probably never get an advanced copy of anything.
No,
It is what it
no,
is.
no, 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 no
No advanced
way.
copy for us.
No, sir.
Well, Jake might get a copy. Once he wins all the Golden Demons, he might
Oh.
get a copy.
I mean, that's well, see, that's the thing, is I'd have to win awards, which that's certainly not a foregone conclusion. And then I would also have to be a content creator, a la Sergio Calvo or Richard Gray or Francisco Farabi or whomever else has won multitudinous Golden Demons and then gone on to make entire careers out of teaching other people how to try to win multitudinous Golden Demons, which is not something I see for myself ever.
I'm just happy that you used a 5-syllable word.
I try so hard,
It's all that
and I get
lawyering
so
coming back
far,
out.
and in the end, it doesn't even matter.
I miss you, Chester Bennington.
Yeah.
Pour one out for the homies.
Well, this is a sad conversation. I've become so numb.
Dead. I'm fucking dead.
This podcast is
like
over. I'm
Chester.
giving it up.
Yeah, we've gone too far.
Yeah, I think everyone stopped listening like 5 minutes ago.
So yeah.
I know
With
I
that, how did you guys, listeners out there, how did you guys get started in the hobby? Let us know. Leave a comment or send us an email at argeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. That's ARGELTALK podcast@gmail.com. And
Yeah.
if you've got topics for further discussion or questions you want to ask us, lists you want us to workshop, lore questions you want us to kind of dig deep down into, or things that shower thoughts with the listeners. Maybe what's a tier ranking list of Primarch hairstyles, or who amongst the Primarchs would rate as a power top or a power bottom? Let us know.
I think we're gonna end the haircut thing, I'm gonna say Ferris Manus got the best haircut of all of them.
It's true. Just
No, his
At least
was
most
a lot
extreme
too
looking.
short.
well, I mean, but think about it. I mean, it's definitely the most pragmatic. I mean, you don't got to worry about cutting your hair if you're dead.
And no hair, no head, no problems.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
Well, I think Angron's cornrows are probably the best.
Do you think that when Ferris Manus takes a shower, he just uses and shoulders?
Probably.
I've been telling Ed he needs to magnetize his Ferris Manus's neck.
You know,
I thought he did.
Ed's a funny guy, but I don't know if that's his sense of humor. His sense of humor is putting a name tag on his goddamn Redemptor Dreadnought.
Oh, that's fair.
Oh, that's just because his Redemptor Dreadnought was temporarily a Leviathan.
Yep. Fucking Bob, dude.
Fucking Bob. Bob's an asshole.
Bob is an asshole, and I will treat him as such.
I think Ed and I held the last big event we did. We held the whatever it is, the gold standard for lowest scoring game of Heresy anyone can play.
I mean, that's
I
fair.
won the game with
like.
Yeah, I think I won the game with a score of like 2 victory points.
Oh gosh.
It was the lowest possible score you could get and actually play the scenario.
That also sounds about right.
Yep. I mean, that's why.
I feel like that's more a reflection on me than anything else.
That's why War of Alternative Facts is the best mission out of the core book, and I will fight anybody that says otherwise, because it's the only way I can win a goddamn game. Just not win any points, and then just let my opponent lose all of theirs at the end of the game, and then that's how we go there.
That's okay. You still have to play against my Emperor's Children. You could find that win.
Mayhaps.
It's there for you. Yours is for the taking.
My fortune is yours for the taking. You'll just have to find it first. I left everything I own in one piece. I'm sorry. All right, I'm done. I'm out. This has been Jake, Ben, and Eric and Gray for Argel Talk, and we'll catch you idiots next time, I guess. I don't know. Fuck.
Please just get us out of here quick.